Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another blast from Professor Desiree Dubonnet. We are really grateful this evening. We're going to be talking more about the VARHOPE, my favorite area. It's like my dashboard. And I know some of you too also love it. And we'll be talking also about the QQC. Listen in, this is the essence of what we do. And we need to really understand what the QQC is and the matrix and the trivectors. So Daisy's she's got two wonderful videos for us to watch. She'll be presenting, and then at the end, I'm going to go through the quantum devices, trading in your device, the courses, getting your license, and well, the year's running quite quickly towards the end, and I think some of us need to make some decisions regarding the devices and our license and getting real. Okay, so with that, I'm going to be handing over to Desi. And listen in, everyone. Pay good attention. Thank you.
Here I am. Okay.
Hi, Desi.
Howdy. Okay, everybody. This is an important lecture to get an idea about what our machine does. When patients ask you, basically biofeedback is measuring an electrophysiological response of the body and feeding it back to the patient. We establish a loop where we start to send information to the body electric rather than just to the verbal brain. We're going to, because classic biofeedback is just all done with the verbal brain. You might see, they might measure your blood pressure and you might see a cloud. And then the more you lower the cloud, you're lowering your blood pressure, say. And that's a connection to the verbal mind. Well, our quantum biofeedback is different because we're going to be measuring the body electric and sending information to the unconscious. Not just the conscious, but to the unconscious. The unconscious is working at incredible speeds, where our verbal brain works at much slower speeds. For you to hear me speak, you have to get the vibrations, go into your ear, go to the part of the brain in the left hemisphere, Broca's area 36, and you have to process, well, what did he say? What did she say? What is this? Is this a he? Is this a she? What? All of this, you see, it all comes down, and then you start to understand. But the body electric is working at 100th of a second. That's the speed of interaction. So if you put your hand on a piece of metal and you're walking down the street and there's a handrail and you touch it, there's bacteria there, there's fungus there, and your body electric reacts to all of these things within 100th of a second, much faster than the verbal brain can communicate. So we're going to be establishing a loop, sending information in and out of the unconscious. Now, in 1989, when I got this first registered in America with the FDA, we had our registration as the electrophysiological feedback zeroid, EPFX, electrophysiological feedback zeroid. And the zeroid is a name that just came to me in a dream one day, and it's basically a measure of how we're going to be sending in 10,000 plus items that we've measured electrically into your body, and we see how you react to those things. Those are all voltammetric signatures, three-dimensional voltammetric signatures, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. And we see how you react to these things. Well, like I say, you react to these things within 100th of a second or so. I call that the zeroid. So we're able to measure your reaction to all the known hormones and vitamins and minerals and bacteria and funguses and viruses, so you can see how you react. And from that reaction panel, we get an idea of what type of problems that patient is in. In 1989, in that FDA registration, I talked about this procedure of electrophysiological reactivity, sending in voltammetric signatures into the body and measuring how you react to them. This was the first document in the entire world that registered this technology. This technology, which is now, the patent is processing. We've now registered this in governments all around the world, including South Africa, etc. And we've expanded it from that 1989 over a long, long time ago. Okay. So inside that 510K, that document, that FDA document, also we talked about the VARHOPE, which is an acronym for voltage, amperage, resistance, hydration, oxidation, and proton pressure, which means acid alkaline balance. pH. Voltage. Our bodies have to have a voltage in order to operate. For me to speak, for me to walk, for you to talk, for you to listen, every biological process will have an electrical component of it that allows it to work. Your muscles, as you move, it's actually magnetic how your muscles move. An electrical stimulus will go to your muscle, and inside the muscle, there are two little plates, actually millions of little plates, and they're drawn magnetically over each other. Our muscles work through a magnetic process. Very interesting. And in order to do this, it's contingent on the amount of voltage and amperage that happens. And the voltage basically in the human body has a correlate to the adrenal hormones. If we increase your adrenal hormone, adrenaline, you increase the voltage. If you're under stress, you decrease the voltage. The amperage component is not connected to the catecholamines, the adrenaline. It's connected to the indolamines or brain hormones, such as melatonin, serotonin. These different types of the onin family of hormones. And these different brain hormones help contribute to the amperage. Now, let's get an analogy that you might understand. Let's take your telephone, your mobile telephone. It has a voltage and an amperage. So the average telephone is working on a voltage of about 9 volts. There's little batteries that you have to have, and you charge those batteries up. And that's an indicator of the voltage. In the wall current, in America, the wall current's 110 volts. Here in Europe, it's 50 volts. Okay, no. Here in Europe, it's 220 volts. Yes, it's 220 volts. And that's the voltage. Now, I wouldn't want to take my telephone and plug it directly into the wall because it would burn it out. Okay. When you plug your telephone into the wall, you're plugging it into a little converter that converts that 110 or 220 volts and converts it down to a more usable factor, down around the 5 to 9 volts, which your telephone uses. The amperage is the amount of charge. The voltage is the pressure behind it. So the amperage, you see that as you use your telephone, you start to lose less and less bars at the top. That means that the amperage is starting to fall. When it gets to a critical level and the amperage has fallen too far, you need to get charged. Okay? So that's how it works. Now, volts times amps is power. It's called watts. Volts comes from an Italian man named, Louis, no, it was Louis Emperor. I think it's Giuseppe Volta. Now I'm not sure about the first name. I do know about the last name, Volta. He was a man who, oh Jesus, centuries ago, was looking at frog legs and seeing how that even when the frog was dead, if he ran a little bit of an electrical current through the frog legs, it would spark. And he was the guy where we get the word volt from. Louis Ampere was a Frenchman who started also working on biology. The people who were doing this were working on biology and trying to understand it. And he then figured out what amps were, the amount of electrons being moved, the amount of charged particles. And then there was an Englishman named James Watt who developed the idea of power. Volts times amps equals power. Your adrenal function times your brain function will be an indicator of the power. The amount of amps that your muscles are moving, which has to do with the magnetic action of the muscles, the bigger the muscles, the more power you'll have. And as you exercise, your brain puts out hormones that makes more muscles as you grow, as you exercise. So that's part of the indicator there. Our system, back in 1989, I registered to VARHOPE, so we could measure your volts and amps. Nobody else was doing that. In fact, even today, nobody does it today. Nobody measures your volts and amps like we do. This was the first and as I know, the only medical device which actually measures that. Because now we get, through the VARHOPE, we get what I call the electrical vital index signs. These are the vital index signs about the power of our patient. Do they have the proper volts? Do they have the proper amps? This has to do with their nutrition. This has to do with their lifestyle. This has to do with the amount of oxygen. Because also then from the resistance, the next one, VAR, resistance. As a electron moves, there is a resistance to it. And a German man named Ohm, he wrote up Ohm's law to tell us that volts equals amps times resistance. Very interesting. So there are all these ancient, a couple hundred years ago, these scientists working, trying to understand biology and coming up with the definitions of electricity. Volta, Louis Ampere, Ohm, and Watt, and all these things. We start to then understand our machine is going to measure these things. Now, the amount of, as we then get down to hydration, oxidation, we're going to measure how well you use water, or how much water is present. We see if you're hydrated, dehydrated. How do you use oxygen? We're going to find out the oxygenation potential. And this will be an indicator here. Then we're going to also be able to measure your pH, your acid-alkaline balance. And the acid-alkaline balance is an indicator of, it's an indicator of how many charged particles you have, negative or positive. If you have virtually the same, negative to positive, you have a pH of 0. Okay? Now, and in acid situations, acids accept electrons because acids will have more protons. Okay? Hydrochloric acid, hydrogen, sulfuric acid, okay? They have protons in them, and as you get more and more of these positively charged particles, your body will start to go acid. If our machine senses that you're too acid, our machine will recognize you are electron deficient, and our machine will switch its operative principles and will start to feed you electrons. If our system finds out that you are too alkaline, meaning that you have too many electrons, our system will help to ground you out and help to drag out. So drag out those extra electrons. So our system is designed with every operation you do to measure your body electric vital index and correct it. It has to be done at a very slow process and at a very weak process. Inside the body, the human body, in every cell and throughout the entire neural network, there are circuit breakers that if you get struck by lightning, you have a chance to live. These circuit breakers are sensitive if the voltage around the body goes past 3 or 4 volts, okay, then the circuit breakers will kick in and you cannot get electrons into the body or out of the body. It will shut down, circuit breakers. So what we're going to do is measure your body electric, which is about at the point of around 1 volt. The average human being is operating between 0.7 and 1 volt. And we're going to measure your body voltage. And then we're going to measure your body amperage, resting. This is in the calibration stage. So that now we know that we don't want to go too high. We want to be able to help develop this safely. When you get to amps, which is current, this is where it gets to be problematic and you could hurt somebody with amps. You can't hurt anybody with our machine. Let's make that very clear to start with. You could sit in a Tesla coil with 1,000,000 volts around you and it won't kill you. It might tickle you, but it won't really kill you. It's the pressure, you see. Now, when you get the amps, then that is what can create a damage. The damage from the amps, if you were to get exposed to more than 2, if you get it down exposed to more than 2 amps of energy, it can kill you. The normal car battery will operate at around 1.5 amps. That might be enough to kill you. If you get a super duper battery, the heavy duty extra charge batteries, these batteries will operate around 3 volts and almost definitely can't be enough to kill you because there's so many amps. Our system is going to measure this, and our system is operating around 10 milliamps, a thousandth of an amp, very, very safely. Our system has been registered with the FDA. It's registered around the world, and it's registered as a safe system because we measure all the units that are made have to be measured to conform to the principles of never exceeding more than 10 milliamps, 15 at an absolute complete top. Our system is designed to stop and to not send in any more than that. So it's absolutely safe. We have sold 37,000 plus devices around the world. There have been well over 500 million patient visits, if not 1 billion patient visits. That's conservative. And we have no examples at all of any risk. Nobody has ever been hurt by this device. There have been maybe a little redness of the skin, what we call urticaria, that has happened. But nobody has any significant risk at all using our device. So it is safe. And our device is going to be operating, and it's registered, and it's designed to do all these things. You as a therapist need to know the basics of what I'm talking about. I understand this is complex, volts and amps. I'm going to show you a little video now. I know the video will show you a lot of science. You need to have a grip on the basics of this. Number one, the system's safe. Number two, we're measuring your body electric and we're fixing it. So now let's watch the video, and then I'll come back, I'll take some questions, and then we're going to go into the next part of the system, the reactivity. Are you ready to show the video?
want to shoot a little video here about VARHOPE, voltage, amperage, resistance, hydration, oxygen, proton pressure, electron pressure. Just what is the nature of this little acronym, these electrical measures of the body, and what is the history of this? Well, the basic voltage of the body can be measured by brainwave or heart rate, where we can see the amplitude of the volt pattern. The volt pattern, the amplitude, tells us the direction, and the capacity of the body to make that amplitude is equivalent to the capacity of the body to make the voltage. This is different in most people, as that there's a wide range from a basic bottom minimum up to a high maximum. Certain people have more electricity in their body. This has to do with their body's ability to handle electricity.
So the baseline factors of the cranial measures will give us an idea of the voltage vector, which here corresponds to the X thing of the electropotential. There is such a thing as the human battery. The different cells all have to have a cellular charge across the membrane. If that gets weak, we get sick. If it gets very strong, then we get maybe too sick. But there's a balance factor that allows us to work with biology. We can measure these with the SCIO and then measure the electrophysiological factors of the interstitial fluid, and this has to do with the osmosis factors and the electropotential of the membrane. So there is a body electric that can be measured, and we can see these factors and measure these factors with the SCIO.
Now when we get to the next capacity, we're talking about the amperage. We've shown this in the basic diagram that the amplitude, or high vector, the X factor here, is an indication of the voltage. Underneath the graph is an indication of the amperage. Now we can see here in a low amp state of virtually the same type of voltage, but here in another voltage of the same voltage in a high amp state. So then the amperage gives us an idea of how much viable charged particles, viable electrons, viable protons this person has. The more, the better for life. Of course, we can't get too much, and that can create a problem. Resistance has to do with the flow of electricity through the body. If we look at the basic formula of Dr. Ohm, volts equals amps times resistance. This gives us a basic idea, and it's not a perfect mathematical formula. It's what is known as a correlate. In any system, volts is approximately equal to amps times resistance. As voltage goes up, amps will go down in order to maintain the equality. As we look at this, the resistance is the flow of electricity, and the flow of electricity can be impeded by heavy metals, lack of nutrition, lack of water, lack of fatty acids, lack of minerals, and a host of other things that can impede the resistance. The resistance also is a vector of reactance, as that the change in volts added to the change of amps, added to the change of resistance, equals the reactance of a system. The total reactance of a system cannot be determined by simple resistance measures. We need voltage and amperage measures plus resistance to get the reactance measure.
There was a series of devices that were made with a point probe, and they tried to measure these different things, and these devices have been proven fraudulent. Devices that were never validated or verified to actually tell what things were doing. And they were using skin resistance, and some of the Russian devices were making no electrical measures of the body whatsoever. These devices were found fraudulent.
Once we get this and we measure over a period of time these measures of volts and amps and resistance, we can now do a simple formula to give us an idea of induction or magnetic properties. If we look into the idea of the right-hand rule, if an electron travels like my thumb, there is a magnetic field made at 90 degrees and an electrostatic field made at another 90 degrees. Thereby, all electricity has a component of static electricity and magnetic. We can measure the magnetic charge and the capacitance charge by measuring a multiple series of volts and amps, and this will give us an inductance and a capacitance index of the patient, and that can give us hydration scores or oxidation scores. The capacitance scores give us a reflection of the electrolytic strength, which is a correlate of the hydration. The inductance or magnetic can tell us about the oxidation redox potential and thereby give us an indication of oxidation in the body. Since the pH is a measure of negative charges versus positive charges, we can now get an electrical measure of the different parts of the body and get a pH score or an EH score, proton or electron. So thereby we have the idea of VARHOPE. This is an indicator of the health of the system. There are norms for people. There are people can get too high, people can get too low, and we can use an electrical device that would gradually stimulate and stabilize the VARHOPE. How do we do this? The human body is designed to resist electrical stimulation, but if we find just the right harmony by measuring the volts and amps of the patient, and by finding the right harmony, we can be able to trickle in electrons into the body and stabilize their VARHOPE. That is the principle that we've been able to validate through the research here at the Maitreya Corporation with the SCIO, to be able to show that the system can measure the VARHOPE and can change and enhance the body electric. Thank you.
I have to modernize that video a little bit, I can tell. I didn't even have the EDUCTOR. I did that video a long time ago. But we have done...
Desi, yeah, please, the sound was a little bit soft, the sound, but you'll get the recording and you'll be able to hear everyone.
The
Okay.
sound was good for me, I heard. But I'm going to do it. I'll do a new video about it. I'll do a new video, be able to show more of the research, etc. So now that VARHOPE was part of the 1989, we validated, verified that, registered around the world. Now let's talk about the electrophysiological reactivity. Here, there was a process called voltammetry. It's known as the electronic tongue or the electronic nose, to measure the electrical signature of an item and to get a sense of its trivector three-dimensional state. This electrical state is how we taste things. So when you taste a little bit of ginger or coffee or whatever it is, your taste buds will sense that shape. And then it triggers to the brain what that is. We have on all the cells of the body shape receptors, which can sense these shapes. And the most powerful shape receptors are inside the tongue. Now, you're going to see a video now about the QQC and how we measured this. And I'm going to now show you the video that will explain how we measure the voltammetry. Now, this is also an older video. I think this video is also over 10 years old. And Andras and I have purchased new equipment, which Andras is going to come on afterwards and tell us about. But first, let's watch the next video. Are you ready?
Here's a little movie about a clinical review of the quantum quality control, QQC, or the electronic tongue, as we like to call it. This machinery that we've been using for decades has been developed as an electronic tongue, so we could measure the electrical shape of a substance, just like your tongue does and feeds it to the brain, but we could measure that shape and be able to send it to a patient so we could see electrical reactivity. The tongue is how we do this in nature, how we can sense our foods. And extraordinary claims need extraordinary evidence. The World Health Products Rating System has a really rigorous ability to evaluate that validity. And before you speak, you got to make sure your tongue's connected. We're talking about the tongue. So I wanted to get through to this and tell you, you see that atoms have electrons on the outside and they repel each other so that no atom touches another. There's great distances between them. And the body is energetic. It's filled with energetic fields. You see, you can't even touch the chair you're sitting in. And that light from the sun comes into plants, and then it gives high energy states into the carbohydrates, which then we take in and release heat. You see, everything is an energy exchange, and the tongue has 8,000 taste buds. They're replaced every 2 weeks or so. Now, there are microscopic hairs which act as a voltammetry detector, and the Nobel Prize in Medicine 2004 was awarded to finding out more research about this olfactory system. In fact, most of the genome, the human genome, is dedicated to this shape receptor in the nose and taste. One of the ladies from the 2004 Nobel Prize. And you see this little, at the top, the little hair cells act as a voltammetry detector. Here's a microscopic view of a taste bud. And how this works is it takes in these flavors, etc., and sorts out and feeds that into the brain. So the tongue is there to help trigger the brain so that we know what is coming in and how to digest it. This is a very sophisticated procedure, and that most of the human genome is dedicated to this more than any other part of the entire body, more than any other senses. And the sharks have an electrical sense, but it turns out that we all have an electrical sense. The sharks live in salt water, so it's conductive. And I've written several books on this if you want to learn out more about the electrosense. But even vertebrates and humans have this electrosense. It's been converted into our olfactory system. Everybody does have an electrosense. But in mammals, it's a little more weak than in fish living in salt water. But if you can read the books, you'll find out more. But these taste buds and shape receptors do not absorb things. They just simply catch the shape and feed it electrically to the brain. Now, inside the tongue, we have these different areas, and I tried to make an electronic tongue. See, I tried to make a tongue that would be electronic, that would be able to tell the different shapes and store those shapes so that we could feed them back electronically. An electronic nose and electronic tongue. John Edward Burrow Randalls helped build the initial work on voltammetry. Some of the simple ideas of being able to measure the electrical shape of items. This is electrochemistry. And there's been many books written on voltammetry, electrochemistry, including brain functions and brain systems. But the system that was most guided for me was voltammetric determination of molecules of biological significance. Way back working in Las Vegas, I had found this book and uncovered a way that we could measure the electrical shape of biological items with an electronic tongue. Now, this was written and stored into the book on voltammetry to get the basic idea.
In the 5th grade, we learned that our bodies are made of atoms, and atoms are made mostly of protons, neutrons, and electrons. There are great spaces between these electrons and protons and other atoms. The electrons and atoms of our complex fractal body obey quantum, QED, photonic, electronic magnetic static laws. This is a mouthful, so we abbreviate, and since these are all energy, let's say energetic. The atoms in our body do not touch, but are held by energetic forces. We are taught in 7th grade the Mendeleev table of elements and how atoms seek to have certain amount of electrons in their outer shell. This is the basis of all chemistry, that there is a quantic rule how many electrons atoms want in their outer shell. Atoms combine to try to get a balanced outer electron number of electrons. This is a quantic force and a powerful force of nature. Atoms seek this balance and they move and combine to achieve it. Atoms are drawn together to make molecules, but still the outer electrons do not touch. We are shown rods and balls to display this, but there are no rods and there are no balls. There are just energy forces. These forces are electromagnetic, static, and quantic. Since the electrons and protons are so small, they make up less than 1% of 1% of 1% of 1%, 1% of 1% of 1%, 1%, 1% of 1% of the space in the body. So there is more than 99.999 infinite 9% empty space. This space is filled with energetic fields. We are made of energy fields. There are about 10 to the 30th electrons in the human body, more than all of the grains of sand multiplied by all the stars in the sky. This should make us humble, and we should now understand the risks of synthetic chemistry. So everything is energetic. Testosterone is, like all of the others, an energetic hormone. Electrochemistry is the study of interchange of chemical and electrical energy. Since all things are energetic, electrochemistry is more important than ever. Voltammetry is an electrochemistry technique where amperage is studied as a response to voltage, used for the detection of minute quantities of chemicals by looking for their electrochemistry signatures. All compounds, and thus all hormones, have an electronic electrochemical signature. This is how a cell recognizes the hormone. The shape receptors on a cell recognize the energy field of the hormone and let it do its job. Desiree developed a sophisticated electrochemistry voltammetry device to measure a complex three-dimensional trivector electrochemistry signature of a substance. This patented device is called the QQC.
In the International Journal of the Medical Science of Homeopathy and Naturopathy, which has an ISSN number as a peer-reviewed medical journal, here we were able to publish the initial research that we had accumulated over years, 1997, but we had started this research way back in the 80s, some even in the 70s. And through this analysis, we were able to show and lay the basic groundwork of our clinical review. So we're talking about decades of research that have led into this clinical review of the electronic tongue, which we called quantum quality control, QQC. All these different little studies were able to show, and because of this work, I was nominated for the Nobel Prize for many years. I had lectured at the Nobel Prize Hospital, 2000, and in 1992, we did a 3-day lecture at the Royal Society of Medicine in London, England. Here we see some of the initial work with the system that we had developed, a voltammetric system that was able to take a homeopathic, you see, and this led to a patent that we made in 2007. That's when it was submitted. It's been approved. And we were able to measure the voltammetric electronic signature of items. In other words, we were making an electronic tongue. As years have gone by, we've now tried to broaden it so that we can do sweet, sour, bitter, and all of those with just one function, like our tongue does. But this would need an increased electrode, which now we are using 12 different electrodes. Here's some of the short positive results that have been in the QQC review. Is that we had a review of professionals in the field who reviewed the technology and wrote about it, part of our clinical evaluation. This has been published in a book if you'd like to be able to see this and take your time to read it. Write to us at the below website and we can send it to you. You see, this electronic tongue technology was developed to be able to do medication testing to see which enzyme, hormone, vitamin, other different factors that people would react to. And when we were able to do this in an electronic way, we found that we could measure these items and then see patients' reactions. We started selling these items in the EPFX, electrophysiological feedback system, established with an FDA registration in 1989, was when we actually started to evaluate. And as we can see from the 510K registration, this form of electrical physiological reactivity was included in that original 510K. It now has been registered throughout the world, as it now has been registered throughout the world as transcutaneous voltammetric evoked potential. This is how we can send in the signal of an item that's been captured by the QQC, electronic tongue, and then see how a patient reacts to it, charting out those reactions to see just which type of allergy compound, bacteria, fungus, virus, or other different things. And you can get into this book, the voltammetry research, to understand more. We got our first EC Declaration of Conformity, our first CE mark, back in the 90s. And here's some of the other people researching around the world in electronic tongue. We can see that now this has expanded into becoming a very large form of research done around the world. Not just our research, but research done by a host of other researchers, validating and establishing the clinical evaluation of this technology, this voltammetry measure technology, and then voltammetry reactivity technology. If you'd like to see the clinical review of the eclosion SCIO and that type of work, simply write us and we will be able to show you that rather extensive clinical review. We found that we could be able to capture things like testosterone and send that electrical energy into the body and get results. You see, for food analysis, the electronic tongues have been used for food analysis. They've been used to analyze wine, coffee, a host of different things, as the internet is full of articles on voltammetry and the voltammetry of testosterone. We found that we could actually hormone stream and send in the signal of testosterone and get results. And we were able to measure these results and publish these results in peer-reviewed medical journals. Here we see more. Here's an electronic tongue used for honey classification. Collagen. And the carbon paste electrodes, what we found was able to measure electrons coming in or out equally because of the atomic structure of carbon. Now, we've written books about this in much more extensive form. Today, this is just a review of the clinical evaluation, a rather short review of the extensive research. I'm sorry that it does take about 20 minutes to present all this material. But if you want to know more about this technology, you can write to us. We can pass on to the books. We've been able to show the idea of an electrochemistry is the chemistry. All chemistry really is electrochemistry. And the forces that hold everything together are energetic and electrical in part of their nature. Now, to understand the TVEP, the transcutaneous voltammetric evoked potential, we could see that we are measuring what is holding the forces together. And we printed about this in this book, The Science of Medication Testing, TVEP. And in its clinical form, or clinical review, is this book, TVEP, The Clinical Experience. So you can get a big idea of what we've done, is that we do believe in evidence. This evidence led to our Class 1 registration, the electronic tongue, and this is the type of data we get from an evaluation. We're going to get over 10,000 bits of data as we analyze the pattern, the three-dimensional pattern of an item. This gives us an idea of its shape. Here's the shape of an estrogen compound. So we see that its shape, its electrical energy of different factors, this is done through a very complicated QQC electronic tongue voltammetry process, and it has been evaluated clinically as being valid and helping patients. The host of different research blended together. The European registration of the device using the TVEP and EPR. There's an American registration as well. And here's one of the secondary steps, because now we've even gone beyond this one. This type of process of using this voltammetry is now able to study the electrical reactivity of fields, finding that field and then being able to send it into the body for therapy or for reactivity studies. 4 decades of research have gone into making and determining this trivector state. So there's a host of different research, because extraordinary claims need extraordinary research. And some of our doctors have said how amazingly accurate it is. One doctor in South Africa was able to write this paper. It's an amazing accuracy. Some people said spooky accuracy. The quantum quality control, trademarked and patented, has been able to find a way so that we can measure these different reactivity items. And now today, having renewed our declaration of conformity for the CE mark of the electronic tongue from the Eclosion Corporation. So what I've showed you today is a brief review of the literature. You might want to look more. And if you look on World Health Products Rating Service, you'll see that we have completely provided evidence, evidence-based medicine, validation and verification, because validation and verification of your claims, this is the law. Peer-reviewed medical journal, taught in medical universities, even taught by governments, government stamps, the QEC. And this is Professor Desiree Dubonnet, Doctorate in International Law. If you have questions, please talk to us so that we can respond to them intelligently. Thank you.
Okay. So for you, the therapist, what you need to know is that there's lots of science behind this. It's not done overnight. This is an extensive group of scientific, registered, patented procedures all developing into this. And we've, in the last couple of years, we've updated this procedure with a new, much more scientific device. So before I turn it over to Andras to tell you more about the new technology, are there any questions for me?
Desi, I just want to say one thing that we've talked about it also on a Tuesday in our live chat, and thank you very much. I think you've raised the level of the terminology that we're using, and our understanding and knowledge of exactly the device that we're using and what we're achieving. So these live lectures have been really amazing for all of us who've listened in. And just to say as well, it's a safeguard for our devices is the calibration function that we do. Because am I right in saying that that is also the safeguard, Desi?
Oh yeah, we're going to measure the body electric so that we understand how fast does this person react. So we set the proper speeds up. Then we're going to understand, well, what is the level of volts? What's the level of amps that they're operating at? So in the calibration process, we understand how we can best test. And now the machine is going to be auto-calibrating. So about every minute or so, the machine's going to be calibrating again. So it used to be in the beginning, I made it so it calibrated once, and then sometimes the body changed in its reactivity speed. So I fixed that now over the last 10 years. So now our machine, our devices will all change and they will recalibrate. So it's an extreme amount of science and validating our natural medicine and all this. And so much of natural medicine and the devices is, so much of it is just, made in the garage and, haphazardly without an awful lot of science. But I being a scientist myself, I tried to really dedicate myself to doing, the principle of research and validity of information.
It's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I think everybody is speechless about this technology and what you brought through. What I wanted to ask you, and what was going through my mind when you were talking about taste and smell, is the people who have potentially had the genetically modified COVID, call it what you want, whatever it is, are suffering from taste and smell disorders. They can't taste anymore and they can't smell anymore. And I found this rather disturbing, having heard what you've just said about the genome.
Well, actually, this virus, the COVID virus, attacks part of the brain, and it attacks part of your smell procedure. Yeah, it's what we have to understand about the COVID is it's not just death that we're looking at. Yes, there's a lot of deaths from it, but everybody who's exposed to this walks away with some damage inside their body, whether it's lungs, whether it's brain, whether it's kidneys, whether it's liver. This type of virus actually can destroy cells, and it's our technology is regrowing those cells. But see, the normal doctors, they have no idea that you can regrow cells. They have no concept of this. You see, so but this is something that we believe we can do. So the people have to understand, yeah, the COVID is a danger, and yet it is a real thing. All of the governments on the world don't agree on anything, and now that they all agree on COVID, I think it's a little bit, convincing that there is a virus out there. It has to be reckoned with. It's not as dangerous as we thought, but it does create problems. Okay.
Well, no, absolutely. I think we've got, thank you, Desi. We've got Eva here. Eva, you have a question, and then we'll go to Andras.
Yeah. Can you hear me, guys?
I hear you.
So thank you so much again. It was so interesting, and unfortunately last week I missed the class, and I was wondering because it's for me, it's this time of epidemics and isolation and so on. It's an incredible opportunity to learn and to achieve the things we usually do not have time to do. And this program is definitely a huge opportunity. So I know that you guys I know that you, Desi, are putting together the course curriculum. And I was wondering if, we can access already the replays from the program. Because I would love to, for example, like last week, it was something about the hormonal system. And for me, that's fascinating because the body is working out of the hormonal system.
I've created literally thousands of videos and thousands of books and thousands of articles. I don't know how I've done it.
Yeah, I know, but for the replays of this program,
Eva, I have all of them, and I post them every week. I post them on Facebook and on about 7 WhatsApp groups. So you've been missing them.
Oh, yeah, because it's maybe it would. I understood that they would be available in one place. No.
Oh yeah,
Sorry.
IMFlix will have everything, and that's where you want to get to. And I'm reorganizing IMFlix. So within the next month, for sure, it will have everything that you need and tell you. It'll take you from A to Z and have everything that you need to learn. And you'll have access. Right now, you have to bear with me because I'm still arguing with YouTube doesn't like me. The ultra rich people don't like me. The chemical companies don't like me. I'm fighting against an entire world here.
But we'll have the solution for that. Don't worry. It will come in the next weeks, but in the next months. But it's great to know that we have it in one place. And then I have another question because when I'm listening to what you were saying today about the machine adapting to the body response to body electrics and so on and so on. I still have the question, the impression that the device you have created is channeling the energies which are even so much more powerful than the science at the level that is available to us on the planet right now. No, because science, I admire scientists, and it's a fantastic thing, and you know, quite frankly, I think we should all get acquainted with. But I think the device goes beyond that, no? So for me, you know, I had a couple of sessions with Jane, and the impression I have, it's that, you know, the device will adapt to everything the science doesn't have the answer to yet, and
Well, I
cannot
have,
yeah.
unlike many scientists have an eraser. They erase ideas too quickly. I threw the eraser away. I have an open mind. So if somebody talks about astrology, I don't have to have complete proof of it. I have to understand that that's something that we need to have an open mind about. We shouldn't be so judgmental. So I program medical astrology into our system. When you put down the birthday and the name, the numerology, well, why not? Why not? Why don't we broaden our and open our minds and broaden our perspectives to include all of the factors of natural medicine? As long as we're not hurting anybody or causing any harm whatsoever, we should broaden our minds. So that's what I've tried to do.
Yeah. But I think, quite frankly, it's what you are bringing forth. It cannot be faulty in any way. This is what I mean, you know, because it's just like when the universal energy comes through, you cannot make mistake, right?
Well,
And this is
I think you're right. We try to be as best as we can. I try to be open-minded. I try to embrace the scientific, the intuitive, the Western, Eastern, the principles of the Tao, principles of the Dharma, along with principles of the science and chemistry, and recognize that, you know, there's a time for all things under heaven. Let's broaden our minds. Okay, I'd like you to have Andras talk to you a little bit about the new QQC. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Andras, welcome, Andras.
And I'm going to sign off because I have to go. Okay.
Perfect, Daisy. Thanks so very, very, very much.
Okay. Catch you later.
Thanks, Daisy. Ciao, ciao. Bye. Andras, what you're going to need to do is put your hand up, and and then I can pull you in. Okay, perfect. There we go. It'll be about a minute or a minute and a half, and Andras will be with us. And yeah, just while he's coming in, I mean, you know, the information, it never fails to impress me. It is unbelievable what we have, this device, the potential of the device that we have in front of us. And, you know, it's up to each one of us to maximize the potential of this device, and to, which I'll be speaking about at the end, is to, those of you who don't have devices, speak to me. Let's work out a way for you to get one, to come on board, to get trained. Those are you that do, and you want to upgrade. It's like upgrading your cell phone. You wouldn't hang around with a 5-year-old cell phone. You want the latest model because it does so much more. And similarly with the QUEX, S and ED models. I'll call you now, Andras. So just a moment. Okay. So I'll talk about that a little bit later, because, you know, what Daisy's talking about from 1997 to 2007, 2017, we're already in 2020. You know, the upgrades and the possibilities are just expanding and expanding and expanding. So we'll talk a little bit about that later. Andras?
Hello.
You're
Hi, Jane. Hi, all.
You're right.
Okay, I'd like to add a little bit to Desiree's work, and I with the researching the newest, looking at the newest researches, and working with the QQC device, I just like to highlight something, and where are we going, and what are the new things. So
Andras, just before you start.
Yes.
There are people that are listening in that don't have the faintest idea what trivector means. They don't have the faintest idea, you know, that, let's say, ginseng has got 3 aspects to it. and that it's also feeding in physically, mentally, emotionally to the body. It's healing in all these dimensions. That you're actually capturing the multidimensional space of a plant, or love, or whatever it might be. Would you care to, in very, very, very simple terms, just give us a little bit of an introduction to what you do in QQC and the matrix, and what we're doing when we hit the button that says, add some ginseng.
Okay, can you see my screen? I shared. Yes?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can see it.
So let's start from here. What is the science behind it? So you see just a row in the matrix, and so there is, for each row, there is rendered one substance, and that substance is measured. So we measure the electrical shape. We calculated, so there is a sophisticated calculation included in the process, and then we came out with the signal. And behind this row, if I click Myas, VEX, CNation, whatever they are, if I click twice, you can see the numbers and the shape. I saw it in Desiree's videos. If you remember, there was a whole matrix here with all the numbers, and there was a graph. So so this is what this is close to what we measure, because this is a calculated thing what you see here, but this is close to what we measure when we say volts and amps. So it's in an electrochemical process. We just I say the first I start with the QQC measurement process. So we have the herbs vitamin supplements, and then the electrochemical measurement, and then the data collection, and there is a mathematical calculation, and then goes to the software. So that's the whole process, and then you can use it. So we put it into a vial. So this solid here in this liquid, and there are electrodes, and we drive through the current from one electrode to the other. So this electrode going to donate electrons in a form of electricity. There is a very, very, very intricate and extended science behind it. So there double layers appear here, and there are different type of flows. Depending on how long you measure with, what kind of voltage do you use. If you do it for a long time, it kind of volume starts to flow, not just the electricity. So it's a very complex, very intricate, and but we use it in a simple way. So we just measure that half current cycle here. So the current goes from here to here, and then we switch it, and then the donor becomes the receiver, and the receiver becomes the donor, and it goes back. So we apply the potential, an electric potential Desiree talked about, the high volts. So we put high volts here, and we then allow that high volt to, not too high, the volt to flow to the counter electrode. So here is a peak, and we put, this is the volt we put into the system, the E, and this is what we measure, the I. This is a current flow. So this is, and we put here ginseng, we put here homeopathic remedies, anything, and we standardize it. So we have a third dimension, and then we use the 3 dimensions, so the volts and amps, and the other dimension to calculate the variables and come up with the signal. This is a real completed signal. measurement of the hawthorn flower. I picked the hawthorn flowers, I made the tincture, I measured it, and it looks like this. This is the device. This is the new device. So it's a Swiss manufacturing company group, and it's certified. So it's a lot more accurate. There is a lot more measurement points. So it's something like 2,500 compared to the 25 there was before. So we can expect high definition signals in the future. So more signals result more accurate measurements. More accurate, so more measurement points will result better signals, and you can expect those signals to be better in treatment. So this is it. What's interesting about it, in the brain systems, they are using the technology for a very long time, and they measure with the same cyclic voltammetry, which we use here. They use it in brain slices, and so they use like in the measurement of noradrenaline or dopamine or serotonin, and so they use the same technology in the measurement of those in brain systems. So scientists cut out some nerves or some brain slices and use the same technology to drive the electricity through it, and they draw conclusions from the results, from the numbers. So this is very interesting, and so there are new advancements about the tasting. So the tasting happens through a physiological transduction mechanism, and right now we know more about it, and we use the tasting analogy for this technology and for its further development too. So roughly that's it. Are you here, Jane?
I'm absolutely here, Andras. I mean, this is even, even more phenomenal what you're sharing with us. And, when I was with you in Budapest, you were explaining, more and more and more of this to me, and I was just totally amazed. And what you do is incredible. Are you an electrical engineer, Andras?
No, I'm mechanical. So I learned the basics of. So we use the same technology. I learned electrochemistry and electronics. So it's kind of the MIT of Hungary where I learned, and we had to learn all of those principles, and we use this technology for corrosion measurements. So the cyclic voltammetry is corrosion measurements, and for the battery life cycle, so they determine the life cycle for batteries. So it's when you determine the life cycle for batteries, so this signal will just become smaller and smaller and smaller, and it disappears. Very interesting. And so I was surprised how many things is the same. So I can use pretty much everything I learned in the university with Desiree, and also includes her the cybernetic loop. So it's a control theoretical principle. So in mechanical engineering, we learned the control theory, and so it's something. It's the same. So it's a measurement, and you do a calculation, and you feed back based on that same measurement. And so there is a whole science, whole department just for control theory in the technical university. So this is, so I have a lot to discover about this, and I am very happy that I'm able to be here and do this.
It's an unbelievable position that you're in, and what you're bringing to us is, I mean, there aren't really words. It's just happening on such a dimension, and I mean, this is what the upgrade from SCIO to EDUCTOR, EDUCTOR to QUEX. I mean, this is the upgrade, isn't it? It's the sharpening of the tasting of the tongue, to put it in simple terms. Am I right?
Well, it gives a lot to it. So it definitely gives a lot to the software. But the from the SCIO to EDUCTOR, it's more like the brain, so the EEG. What is the biggest improvement, I think. It's because with the EDUCTOR you can measure you can correct the brain signals in the, you can enhance the learning processes. So I like to do more research on those brain system autometric methods in brain systems, because it's the most difficult and most interesting, and maybe the most valuable part of the whole thing. So it's I think for if you want to buy the EDUCTOR, yeah, do it, because there is an EEG, and with the same, if you want to buy an EEG with a software like this, and it cannot do a correction, it will be more expensive than the EDUCTOR. It will not do that. It will not do the correction. It will not improve your learning skills and whatever. So it's amazing. So it's how many hundreds of things you can improve with the EEG, and you. So Desi in our immune courses, and you can Desi teaches you how to read it. So you can if you start with the EEG measurement and you see the the hemispheres and how it goes, and you can already start to pre-diagnose, and you can start to ask questions. You will have very, very important data through that. So with the SCIO, it's with the SCIO you can do that.
And then moving more to the QUEX, what is the fundamental differences between the QUEX and the EDUCTOR, Andras?
So the QUEX has a wider frequency spectrum, like a 3 megahertz, 3 million hertz. So there are signal generators in the QUEX2, maybe 2 or 3 Desi knows better than me, and so it can generate even 1 hertz frequency. It can generate 3 billion hertz frequency, and there are studies on cancer research that in the height like that 3 million hertz frequencies, and in the effectiveness. So it was more effective on certain diseases with that higher frequency range. And I think the normal EDUCTOR is not capable of that 3 million hertz, just maybe 2, something like that. So that's the most. And I think the internal parts are better. So Desi told me that it was upgraded, and I think we could ask her. So we should.
Yes, no, sure. I just I was.
This is what I remember. So there is a meaningful upgrade from SCIO to EDUCTOR and EDUCTOR to the QU.
Sure.
But I like to create some. So I like to simplify this. So I like to make this more easier and so better understandable for everyone.
That'll be great.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean we're not all physicists and engineers and so on, and it's very useful. We have to know the background to all of this. It's it actually anchors everything that we're doing, and that CE mark is the most important thing. All right, because you know, that's
I don't know much about the regulations, but yes, Desi knows this, so Desi knows everything about the
but
regulations.
it's a declaration of conformity, and
Mhm.
it's a declaration of conformity, and this is what has been she's achieved when she's registered, you know, around the world. So that it is the world standard, the CE mark. And so in any case, we've talked about this many times, and you know, we're dealing with the most advanced device on the planet. There's no question about it. And it's verified, validated, and all the rest of it. What we have to do is verify and validate ourselves, because we need to transition and upgrade ourselves too, to you know, be proud licensed operators and therapists of the device. And you know, this is what we're aiming and what we're wanting to do, is get more and more people you know, having immune diplomas behind them, and then being able to buy the license. Not only that, legally you are protected once you have the license. So you know, we need to upgrade from technical operator to quantum therapist, is really what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's the best if everybody knows that you know, many people gives away papers here and there, but so it's, if you are the most protected if you do it with Desiree and with Immune, because so Desiree is the most experienced person about this. So so don't, you know, worst case, if it comes down to any court case or whatever, nobody else can help you but Desiree.
Correct.
Because Desiree has the science, the research, and everything about this. So if you get a paper here at the quantum whatever university, you can, you know, just wipe your ass off with it. If there is serious gift, and that's the truth. So,
yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, we have this awesome device where it's the biggest medical software platform in the world. So, you know,
so the other important thing that people do not recognize, that they want to, everybody wants to get a paper from whatever famous institution here and there, but they do not, they forget that the people made that institution famous. So the people who attended, there were famous people who attended in an institution that they made it famous. It not an institution became famous just because, you know, there is a branding. So you should consider that, because there's
100%.
this whole thing, and
this is based on.
We make this big. We make this. We are going to make that thing bigger, better, and more valid with our knowledge.
Validation, verification, the most important things of everything. And I think what you're saying also is, Andres, is many people just go and buy a qualification, but it doesn't really hold any weight.
Yes, that's the usual way people think everywhere. So it's so they go to an institution, or if even when they make career choices or anything, they just spot an institution because it's famous or whatever, and this is the way they do it. If somebody digs a little bit deeper, they will choose, you know, they will see who teaches there, what kind of, so you dig deeper, you go into the details, and you probably make better choices. So we make Immune great, and we have to learn in the way that we learn everything we can.
True. Absolutely. Well, I've no doubt about this. Oh, anybody got any questions for Andras? You want to type in the chat? We happy to answer and clarify anything that we've talked about that you're not 100% sure on. This is can be very heavy physics right now, and also what Andras and myself are doing is really we authenticating the IMUNE University, and anybody who signed up, even if you haven't signed up on IMUNE, if you're just paying the monthly, you can go in and you can see all the certifications along over all the years that Daisy's been working on this. And I mean, this is unbelievably specialized work. So Andras,
yeah, and so the other, on the other hand, so I'm doing so I'm researching articles, whatever, and so there is a vast science behind this. So it's very, very difficult to argue. It's more, and you cannot even argue this. You cannot argue that body electric right now, and you cannot argue the EEG, ECG, whatever what the machine does. So it's, with today's science, it's not possible. So everything, and we have to. So I'm going to create better quality materials, because we need the university people here, more highly educated people to, because the people listen to them, and this is the way we can grow.
True, absolutely. I've noticed also the challenging noise level has dropped over the years. Hey, Andras.
Yes.
The people that were challenging everything, the noise level has dropped considerably.
About this?
Well, yeah, anyone that was, sort of, affronting Desi or commenting about it or challenging it, or, that noise level seems to have dissipated considerably. Am I right?
And about natural medicine too. So just 10 years ago or something, everybody doubted even herbs, or they cast doubt about everything in natural medicine, anything, and now everybody starts to realize that this is the thing what works for real, and they see that what pharma does is just poisoning in most cases.
Absolutely. Well, we the basis of everything is quantum. So we are in the right place, everybody. We are doing the right thing. We have Andras, we have Desi, we have the whole university, and we have 37,000 odd devices out there. And so we can really, really, really make a huge, huge, huge improvement in humanity, the world, and so on. Did you want to share any more slides, Andras? Otherwise, you can stop sharing and then we can move on a bit.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. That's fine. Thanks. So what I wanted to do is I want to just go through some of the slides I've put together. Just on the device, and I just want to go through some of the things I've been a little bit slack, shall I say, each week in reminding you a lot about the courses and the devices that are available. And if it's your time now, then let's get stuck in. So we've heard from Andras exactly with precision, the difference and what the upgrade means. So it's sensitivity, basically. The tongue tasting is more sensitive, so we're going to get better results at the end of the day. So the QUEXS is the upgraded SCIO version, really, and that's at a 10% discount right now. I think that is still holding. However, this device does not come with very much software at all. So if you do the maths and you work out, by the time you've added all the software together, you may as well be looking at at the real McCoy, the grand EDUCTOR. The price of that is 21,500 euros. But now what Desi's put together for all of us is a down payment, a single down payment of 7,777 euros. Okay, a third. And the rest can be paid off over a 2-year period at 1% interest per month. She is going to carry the costs. The reason why we can't negotiate the 7,777 because that's basically the cost of the device, and she's going to lose if she goes anything lower than that. So that is the bottom line, and this is the deal that's on right now, which I'm suggesting you avail yourself to if you haven't already. I mean, to pay the remainder off over 2 years at 1% interest, I don't think you can get that even in the banks. So do your sums, do your calculations, and see what it means to you. And you get all the software, you get everything. So it really, really is an amazing offer. And also, there are also some trade in deals as well. So I'm going to show you those prices in a moment. And in fact, here they are here. So I'm going to just open my screen a little bit. I hope you can see all that. So there the prices are without the specials, which I've just mentioned to you. And then here we go, the various modules that are included and not included. And then here the trade-in value. So have a look carefully here, because this is where if you go from SCIO to QUXS, there's a substantial amount of trade-in value. You only pay 5,850 anyway if you're trading in your SCIO. If you go to the QXED, you're only paying 11,700 euros. Considerable savings. And then similarly, when you bought your EDUCTOR before or after September 2017, there's a very small amount you have to pay in actually to upgrade. It's very, very small. So I'm just saying comparison to the full price. And if you go from the QEXS to the QEXED, then that's 7,500 itself. But remember here, your trading, you will receive the modules you already have. So if the QUES doesn't have all the modules already on it, if you haven't purchased it right at the top, then you're not going to get everything with your upgrade. You're still going to have to purchase some of the modules. So all I'm pointing out, it's this is a little bit of a red herring, this price, just to be aware. But if it's enabling you to get in and buy 1 or 2 modules of the extra modules of the software, then that's also okay. It's also not a bad idea. But when you do the maths, it is far more beneficial to pay the device off over 2 years, 2/3 of it over 2 years. All right, and there's some of the software. I haven't put all of it in there. And then to look at the prices of the license, diploma, etc. So we've got 600 euros there. That price hasn't shifted or moved for a very long time, and that's for a 100-hour diploma. You can't even get that. You can't even get an NPQ course for this amount. Just by the way. And once you have your diploma, you've gone through the 37 lectures. And by the way, if you are a homeopath or an acupuncturist, you get accreditation for some of the courses anyway. So you don't always have to do all 37, maybe only 30. I'm just saying. So that's a good thing too. Although I advocate you do go through all of them, because Desi's take on acupuncture and homeopathy and everything is different. It's not conventional training. And then what you do for your license, it's 150 euros per annum. You renew your license every year thereafter, but you have your license on the wall. And for each 100-hour diploma, you do need a mentor, all right? And that mentor puts in quite a lot of work. We run a Tuesday live chat. It's about an hour and a half every Tuesday, where we actually go over what Desi's already done on a Saturday. And add other things in as well to broaden our minds as well, but it keeps the group together. So that's what I offer with the mentorship. Additional complimentary And then, sorry, this review of 150, some people come to me and say to me, you know, I've got a couple of pages here and my qualifications, then they all need to be reviewed, and how many courses can I get credits for, etc., etc. That's what that amount is for. The other 150 there is for your annual license. Okay. And then, you know, I've got some 365 courses there as well. So if you want to go and have a look, read up about it, I've posted in the chat right in the beginning. If you scroll down to the beginning where we started, you will get these live links that you can copy and go to, and start saving and working out what you want to do, right? When we look at the university, here it is here. We're getting also, first of all, which is the first time ever, these Saturday live lectures, which really, really, really enlivens the whole immune course. It's not like you're sitting for 100 hours or more on your own without anyone really to contact or anything like that. We have twice a week, we have contact, and that's huge. Not been done before. And there again, you can go and have a look at the course, and you can enroll from 365 as well as from Immune. So those people who are saving up, there's payment plans. So speak to me about a payment plan for your course as well. And I think let's just get real. Let's get licensed. Let's get, you know, let's get ourselves on an equal footing with the device that we're using, because at the moment the device is streets ahead of us. So we really need to put our heads down and knuckle down and get these 100 hours done, get the license on the wall for all sorts of reasons, including legal. So, for example, if a dentist purchases a piece of equipment, all right, the dentist has to have they have to be a licensed dentist in order to purchase the equipment that they're going to use. So we need to be licensed therapists in order to use appropriately the device that we have and have someone sit in front of us. Just to say. And then I just want to show you, okay, these are the prices. Again, it's 600 euros, 650 for the mentorship, and then 150 per annum to keep your license current. And you also need to do CEP points, continuing educational points, where you can choose whatever you want out of the Immune courses that are there. And in fact, if you're very wise, you can do a couple of CPE courses every year. And by the end, soon, you will actually have done all the courses for the doctorate, the PhD. And then you can get hold of a mentor and you can basically get your doctorate. So there's good reason to do CPE in any event, but any professional needs to do continuing education points. So it's absolutely critical that we stay current. Okay. I mean, would you like to go to a dentist that hadn't done anything for the last 20 years, that hadn't done any continuing education courses, hadn't gone to any world conferences, etc., etc.? No, you wouldn't. And the same applies to us. So here's just some of the certificates, and it's all on Immune. So those of you that haven't joined IMFlix, I urge you to do that. I think it's $14 per month. And you go in there, and 24/7, you can get whatever information you want. You can get the whole Immune diploma course. You can get the whole PhD course in front of you for $14 a month. You can read it all. You can write it all. You can write the exams on paper in front of you. If you want to then validate yourself and get the diploma and get the license, then you get hold of a mentor and you do that. You hand all the information in, and then it goes to Desi, and the mentor motivates for you, and you get your license. But right here and now, we've never not had it better than this, thanks to lockdown, I think. But you know, we've got the university right there. We had a big setback because all the Desi's YouTube channels were closed. So fine, we're back on our feet, and we're moving forward. So I urge you to please speak to me. Okay, payment terms both ways. For the device right now you've seen, and for the diploma, I'm happy to offer that as well. All right, you can pay in 3 months, but just get going. I think this is the most important thing. so that we are on an equal footing with the device that we're using. We have an unbelievable piece of equipment in our hands. Right. Anything else? We've got Andres here. I'm here. If there anything more to question and ask about, anything I said that wasn't clear, please let me know. If you want to join the group on Tuesday and sign up for the immune course, please just let me know. You can get on the WhatsApp chat to me or whatever privately. I'll put my website address in here. Anything else from you, Andras? All right, so that's my my email address, and then, like I said to you, right in the beginning there, I'll just mark them. The courses and the devices, where to find information out about them before you even go into IMPLEX. You can go onto my website and you can find it all there. So we just want to continue being authentic, original selves. So do you, Andras?
One thing. Yeah, I just talked to Desi, and she said that you should ask these questions to her too when she is here. You know, about the details of the new machine and whatever. Sure. And
but I think in essence we have it. I mean, we have and you know, it's a more it's still an enhanced instrument.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And
thank you, Andras. Most appreciated. It's been fantastic. Thank you really, really so much. We're really grateful to what you do.
Thank you so much, Jane, and see you next time.
KK, Andras. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.
Okay, guys, I'm honored, and once again, also, it's been phenomenal having you here, especially Saturday. I know it's busy for some, it's late for some. Thank you for coming in. You know, we always have a really good group of people, and I know also those that are busy. We you know, the recording gets posted, so enjoy it, save it. What you should be doing is saving all these recordings, whether you're are doing the immune course or not, or going to do it. You should save them, because easy reference for yourself. So, you know, someone's asking me, can the device regrow hair? Who would like to answer that? So for me, when we reset the charge around every single cell, that cell starts operating properly, and that cell is part of a tissue, which is part of an organ. So if we're talking about the skin as an organ, or the hair, when we get the voltage, the amperage, the wattage, the resistance, the hydration, the oxygen, the protons, the whole VARHOPE operating in dynamic equilibrium, in homeostasis, those areas that are suffering due to dietary toxicity, poor nutrition, genetically, once we get that homeostasis in place, that means that there's dynamic equilibrium, the toxins are going out, and the nutrients are coming in, and then the body starts repairing automatically in the quantum field with the device and according to its own innate potential. So, you know, answers to those questions are, yes, it does do that. And there are programs as well to where you can actually enhance, let's say, enhance the repair of chronic inflammation, or brain damage after a stroke. I mean, we've all seen magnificent results on all levels. And what's really good is that we're bringing in mental, emotional, and spiritual, as well as physical. So anyway, I think most of us are converted. We love our devices and we love what we do. And I think that kind of positive enthusiasm is irradiates out, and the clients that come to us definitely do benefit from all of this. So keep up the good work, everybody. And I'm sure, as I said, our terminology is improving, our knowledge is improving, and we're going to be attracting those kind of clients that are resonating with us. As we escalate, we're going to be attracting clients also on different levels too, which is really, really amazing. And also to know that our device is not only for sick people. I mean, I've got many people that are aiming for ultimate health, and they want their DNA tweaked and taken to the level that it needs to be taken to. Remember, the subconscious is always in control, so we can't make people into avatars. But the point is, give the body that opportunity. So many people like Andres was saying, okay, brain development, they really want to enhance that. Some people heart development, chakra development. So we can really take our health to the ultimate level with this device. There's no question about that. It's not only for sick people, is what I'm saying. Good. Thank you for your interest and for coming in. And I think it's been lots of food for thought. I'll get on with the recording and more next week. Bye, everyone.